You are now tuned into Mix Station Radio Live. The views and opinions of the guests and the hosts you hear on Mix Station Radio Live are not necessarily those of the staff and the management of Mix Station Radio Live, its sponsors, or advertisers.
And we are ready. Hello, everybody. Happy Tuesday. Thank y'all so much for y'all patience. I know we started just a little bit late, but we're so glad that you all have chimed in to join us. It's been, I think, probably about 2 or 3 weeks. I kind of it's been 3 weeks. He corrected me. It's been 3 weeks. It was a much needed rest, but thank you all for your patience. And I have a guest here back again today. Before I get started, let me just say, if you want to call in, please do not hesitate to call in. Or if you have questions, you can type them in on Facebook or on Instagram. And we promise to try to answer all of your questions. If you call in, the number is going to be 855-493-6499. Again, it's 855-493-6499 for any questions that you would like to ask our guests. So today we are going to talk about overcoming, and I am going to allow them to talk about what we're overcoming. So we have Greg back with us. Say hi, Greg.
Hello.
You all loved him when he came in before. Such a phenomenal man of God. Awesome testimony. And so when he was here last, his daughter called in, and I just thought that it would be good to have his daughter Tiara to come and join us to talk about the aspect of what is it like being with a family member, a loved one, whether it be your mom or your dad, that has overcome drugs or the streets or just anything. And so many times we hear the testimony of the person, but not the other people that it affects. So I wanted Tiara to come on with her dad to talk about her life and her upbringing coming up with Greg. And so I'm going to pass it on, and I might interject a few times, but I just really want to hear from father and daughter, and I think this is so sweet. Amen. Okay, let's get started.
I'm Tiara. Thanks for having me. So growing up with a parent who was addicted to drugs, I didn't know him in the beginning. Well, from my recollection. Okay. So I recall first meeting him when I was 19.
Okay.
She erased a whole lot of them.
Yeah, I did. Because you weren't around. So it was like, as a child, you only remember certain things, and it's a consistency thing. Now, I have stories of my grandmother telling me, like, oh, when you were 2, we saw him walking down the street and pulled over. Okay. But my memory is that he was not there. Okay. But let's not get it wrong. I had a father growing up, so I didn't have that missing part, but I knew I wasn't his. And then I had other siblings in the house who all had different last names than I did. Okay. So that it really was stuck out to me the most. And I will always ask, I didn't ask my mom, but I will always wonder, like, how come he wasn't around, or, to her, he was such a bad person. So, like, I only knew, like, the bad stuff. So she would always be like, well, you don't need to be around them. He doesn't have anything to offer you right now. I knew of him because he would write me letters from jail. He would, my favorite thing was he would send those birthday cards, like, hey, other people make them. Okay. So I remember that, and I look forward to getting that every year, that my mom would allow it. But when I really got older and could realize that he wasn't there, it was a pain inside me that I just hid. And I just masked it with the father that I did have. Okay. And it allowed me to create like a bond with him that was like so unbreakable that it was unhealthy. Okay. So, yeah. Okay. All right.
She does. So, yeah, that's what happened. So I was there a whole lot more than that. And her mother, God bless her heart, she had her best interest at heart. Like, she had every right to do back then I ain't see it, but she had every right to do what she did and feel how she felt.
Right. Okay.
Because the fact is, I let her down. I wasn't the man I was supposed to be. I wasn't a father or husband that I signed on to be.
Okay.
So I got what my hand called for. So I remember one day, what you talking of, you was about 4. So your mother went out of town, and she told your grandma, do not let him see her. Just so happened I'm walking down the street. I see your grandmother's van go past. They blew the horn at me, and then I seen the arm come out the window. They waving me down. So I go down there. The van door open up. So she's sitting in there. She say hi to your father. To your dad. She say, that's not my daddy. That's Greg. So her grandma was like, I'm so sorry. I said, listen, man. I said, it's okay. I said, I know what I did and what I didn't do, so it's okay. Like, and also, I always respected the dude, because he was in her life since she was like 6 months old. So I remember I came to her birthday party. Her mother, I had no money. Look, she come see me one day, and she was like, give Tierra a party at Chuck E. Cheese, and I need half of the money. So I was like, I'll get it for you. I ain't have a dime to my name. As soon as she left, called my man. I went and robbed something. got a little gift. Went out there. When I come in the door, we're like Route 40. I come in the door. Everybody, all eyes on me because they know he there, right?
Hello.
So I go over to her, and I see everybody feeling uncomfortable. So I go over there. I told her I love her. Gave her a gift. When I went outside, I said, bro, let me speak to you for a minute. So we go outside. So now everybody really on edge. So he didn't took him outside. But I really took him outside to thank him. Okay. Because the thing is that see, I love my daughter unconditionally. And I didn't even understand it until just recently when she explained it to me. So I was just happy to know that she was getting from a man what a daddy was. See, because you can have a father. I was her father, can't nobody take that, but I wasn't her daddy. You know, and he was being a daddy because, and one of the real reasons why this was very important to me was because I had been with females that doing sex. They be like, can I call you daddy? No, you can't call me daddy because I got a daughter and I don't need to be thinking about her right now. You know, so, but my thing was I never wanted my daughter to be seeking that in a man. So I was grateful for Slim, and I told him that I appreciate him, and I always appreciate him, like, because he was there when I couldn't be and when I wasn't.
Right.
But I loved her probably more than I loved myself because I wasn't that good at loving myself, as you can see from my actions and all the things I took myself through.
See, I didn't think that. I thought he didn't love me enough because he wasn't there. So my thing would be, well, if you love me so much, why couldn't you stop the drugs? Why couldn't you stop doing whatever you were doing? And it wasn't until he got clean and told me, like, you know, well, God revealed to me that I didn't love myself, talking about he didn't love himself in order to love somebody else.
Right.
And then once I started like my faith journey and really understanding that in order to give out love, you have to have it for yourself.
Right.
So the older and more mature I got, I understood that it wasn't he didn't love me, because I thought that. I really, really thought, like, yo, don't love me. You know, and then I knew, like, he had other children, and, like, my older brother had a relationship with him. So I'm just like, dang, where was he at? That, you know, he couldn't be. But our mother, I mean, I don't really know my brother's mother that well, but apparently they had different standards on. My mother was like, you're not coming and going out her life.
Okay.
So.
Yeah, because it wasn't good, and I didn't realize that because, like, sometimes I used to come see you, and I thought she was lying, but it was the truth. Like, a couple of days later, she'd be like, you can't come see him. I'm like, why I can't come see her? They like, because every time you come see her, she wet the bed that night. So it was affecting her negatively. Like, I didn't mean to hurt her, but I was. So, then, trying to remember. So we get to, she was 18 years old. So I came home from jail unexpectedly, and I was set up. I didn't know I was set up. Like, my brother came to get me, and he took me out there. He didn't tell me she was coming, but he invited her.
He called. No, I know. We were already having the shindig.
Oh,
and he called me and said, like, hey, Greg just got home, because I call him Greg, which a lot of people have a problem with, but that's our thing. So he was like, you know, Greg is coming home. Do you want me to tell him not to come? And I'm just like, no, tell him to come. And I brought my best friend with me. I was like, this is going to be the day or whatnot. So the whole time we was there, I avoided him. I was like, I'm not speaking to him. I'm going to give him the cold shoulder and everything. So back then, I used to partake in alcohol. So I had started drinking.
You was a connoisseur.
I was drinking, and I I got that liquid courage, and he was about to walk out the door.
No, you was about
I was about to leave.
You and Amelia was about to leave. And she spent the round on me like that exorcist.
As I turned around, like, you know what? Let me tell you. And then,
And look, listen, my mother very religious Christian, and she was cussing so bad. She was crying, she was cussing, and I'm looking at my mother
best
like,
friend crying like, you
I'm
don't
looking
know
at
what you
my,
put her through.
I'm looking at my mother like, Mom, make her stop. Like,
You're a grown man, but you like, Ma, I need you. Make us
I'm
stop.
like,
And he was looking.
I was 40 years old, 2009. I was 40 years old, so I'm like,
19.
I'm like, you just gonna let her cuss in front of you like that? I wanted my mother to rescue me so bad. I kept looking at the refrigerator.
He
I was
was
like,
so frail, just
I
standing
was like, I wish I could just crawl up under that refrigerator and just hide until she leave, because she blasts me. But it was good for me because I got to see how she felt, and I got to see from her, not from her mother,
Right.
and not from anybody else, the damage that I had done. And you know, hurt people, whether they mean to or not.
Right.
You know, I ain't understand I was hurting her because I loved her, if you ask me, but I wasn't loving her properly.
I'm sure you remember more words than I remember because I wasn't all the way there. So, like, what were some of the things I was saying
Ooh.
without the curse words?
Because I was going to ask that,
Without the-
Tierra.
Yeah, what was I saying?
You started off by saying, I don't remember everything because I don't want to.
Right.
But one of the things that you said was, I said I was going to come here and I wasn't going to speak to you. I said I wasn't going to hug you. You weren't there for me. And I had to sit there and listen. It was like 20 people in there. So I'm looking at the people. I'm looking at my mother. I'm like, somebody make us stop. You know, somebody make us stop. But what I was going to say about, I was trying to get back to a point something that you said.
You said I wasn't there for you.
About,
You wasn't around.
it was about Jock. Oh, so what happened was this. So
That's
one day,
my father who adopted me.
one day I get
Okay.
a letter. I get a letter from her mother. I'm locked up, and she say, if you really love Tierra, so I had 10 years. She was like, sign your parental rights over. She was like, because she is putting our last name on her work at school, and a teacher called. So I'm thinking she lying to me because she just want me to sign my daughter over. And I'm like, I ain't doing that.
Right.
Cause I got plans. I don't know when they gonna come into play, but I got plans. I don't always plan to be like this.
Right.
So I called her grandmother, my girl, love her, look, and she was my life, right? So I say, Miss Vicky, I'm telling her, and she say,
You're not getting Vicky in trouble right now.
no,
Go ahead, be
Miss
on.
Vicky, you the mother. Tia gonna say something to her. You know how your mother is. But I'm telling her what Tia said to me, and she be like, Greg, she ain't lying. She be like, she ain't lying. The teacher called and said she because she feel like she left out. Everybody got a different name than her. So
Even the dog had.
you know when you take your dog to the vet, the dog last name is yours. The first name is his, but the last name is
His
the
name
owner.
Snuggle
Right.
Smith. Everybody.
Right. So everybody
like
in the
our
house.
Christmas cards would say from the Smiths and Marshburn.
And so that bothered her. That was hurting her. So when her grandmother told me that it wasn't a lie, so I said, so wait a minute, I'm just gonna sign her over because I ain't want her to be hurt. But her grandma was like, Greg, don't do that. I said, what you mean? I said, I don't want my baby to be hurt. She was like, no, because you can't take the chance that one day she gonna think you just gave her away.
Right.
So I was like, oh, and I ain't gonna do it. But like
I
I said,
already felt gave away though.
and it was nothing I could do about it. It was like I had caused so much damage, and I had no idea how I was gonna come about this. I really didn't. I had no idea I had hurt her like I did. So she decided that day when she was blasting me in front of everybody that she was gonna give me a chance. She cried out. She was like, "I'm gonna give you a chance." She said, "But if you go back to jail, I'm not dealing with you no more."
I did.
What I do?
Went back to jail.
You went
Well,
back.
thank God for third chance. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Because she gave me a no, and I made good on that one though.
Yep, and I remember him before you. I think when you went to jail, I was living with my grandmother, and he called me, and he was like, can we have a father and daughter relationship? I was like, no. I said, you can be my friend though, because that's where trust starts.
Right.
So I was like, we could build a friendship, but you're not about to be my father. I have a father. I'm good. Overnight, so we started a friendship.
Okay.
I wound up going away to college, and he would call and talk to me. I was going through different things. Really finding my faith and everything. I would try to set him up on like little challenges that I was doing overnight. But
like the celibacy.
yeah, I tried to get him to be celibate with me.
Shot my feet. All right, now, woman of God.
So, but I think he rejected me. Didn't you reject it?
I told you I had just met somebody. Give me like 30 days and I'll catch up with you. I never caught up with her.
So from there, it started. Like, it wasn't really like see each other much, but it was like call overnight. I remember he bought me a comforter for college. Yeah, he bought me a comforter set, so that was special to me. I'm just like, to me, I was like, oh, I got my first gift. From, you know, but I don't know. It probably wasn't.
It wasn't,
but to you, it was.
Yeah.
But from the child, to me, it felt like the first thing you ever got me, because diapers, whatever you got me in the past, it was for me, but I didn't know how to benefit from it at the time. Overnight, so we really started developing a friendship. I remember like different friends or girls you would have, they would be like, the way that she's talking to you is inappropriate, and why is she calling you, telling you about certain things? Because
that was our relationship. To me, like, you gotta establish something. We had nothing, so I was just willing to take what I could get from her until I could expound on it. Like, I just wanted to be in her presence. I just wanted to talk to her.
And
I was okay with Greg.
Probably shouldn't have said that.
Like,
as a father, no.
I'm just like, so when I was having sex, I'm like, man, like, you know, I'm talking to him, telling him. Now, he might have been Christian on the other side, but he like, for real, like, yeah. Just probably way too much now that I look back at it, but I'm not going to say I didn't have any respect for him as a father, but it was,
he was your friend.
No, I didn't have respect for him
as a father
yet. No. He was my friend, so I'm going to tell you something like I would tell a friend.
Okay.
And the fact that he was open to that, and I'm just like, oh, I could trust him, you know. But then the more and more with like the last 6 years, my respect level for him has started to change.
Okay.
Meaning like, well, I'm married now, so I'm not calling you telling you nothing. But I know that if I was to, I could trust him. Like within like the last 2 years, I've started to refer to him as my father. Like, oh, this is my father, you know, or I've even caught myself slip up like dad or pops, and I'd be like, ooh, snap, like, I know, but when it's not, it wasn't normal, but I can see the relationship changing. Like, a lot of people think because you have a parent that's addicted to something or on a bad path, you have to see him shooting up or see him taking drugs or see him strung out. The way that may affect somebody can still affect the person who has the father that's not there or the mother that's not there.
Okay.
And that was just my case. So I'm glad I was sheltered from having to see him like that, because I don't know if I would be able to wipe that.
The memory.
Right, the memory of that.
Okay.
You know, so I appreciate what we have now.
Yeah, I was always your father. Like, you might not have saw it like that, and nobody can take that away. Sperm don't ever. If it ain't for me, it don't happen.
I remember my 21st birthday.
And I always knew that. If it ain't for me, it don't happen. So my thing is, whoever get a chance to love you, they should be happy. Because if it wasn't for me, they wouldn't have got that chance. So I should be including that somewhere. Somebody should be thankful to me. Because it don't happen without me.
I understand.
And I remember I used to feel so bad in situations because she would be so happy I was there. I'm showing up. So she'd be like, this is my and then she'd look at me and say, it's okay, babe.
In my 21st birthday party, Jock, who is the guy who adopted me, he was there, and they were standing next to each other. So on this day, they decided to be like real cool. So I'm introducing my friends, like, hey, this is my father.
We standing next to each other.
And I'm like, this my father. I'm like, this Greg. I'm just like, I don't know. Y'all had me in an awkward situation that I didn't, that as a child, I didn't ask to be in.
Right.
Overnight. So I didn't know how to address. And then of course, my stepdad, he's sensitive. He's sensitive to this day. He doesn't talk to me behind it. Overnight, the fact that I have decided to foster a relationship with my biological father, I understand that it's sensitive. But you just want to know who you are.
Right.
Like, you want to know. Like, I had that longing to know, like, people like, oh, my mother, oh, you got an attitude. Just like when she was mad, then I knew more about him. It was like, oh, I act like him, oh, I look like him, all this. So I'm just like, well, I want to see if I talk like him. I want to see if I look like him. Like, his sister and I both have unibrows. So, you know, when you get to know that side of the family more, you have a longing to know, like, who you are, where you come from. And he just wasn't ready for that.
Okay.
Overnight, because for him, I've been there since you were 6 months. he ain't do nothing for you or whatnot. And I'm just like, I know, but I still want to know. I still want to know who my father is.
And you have a right to know.
Absolutely. So the day I learned what unconditional love was about a month before the wedding. So I met with my stepdad, and I'm just like, hey, the wedding, blah, blah, blah. Can you give me a way? I'm going to have Greg walk me halfway, and then if you could walk me the other half. And I said, because Greg wasn't there the whole time, I don't feel as though he should give me all the way away. I want you to be in it. I'm not doing that. I'm not doing that. You know, I was there the whole time. So if that's the case, I'm not coming. And I was just like upset. Called my husband like blah blah blah. Called Greg. Greg was like, baby, if that's how he feel, I just won't walk you down. And I got off the phone. I called my husband Brandon. I'm like, Brandon, he said XYZ, and I'm like, he like, all right, so what you gonna do? I'm like, Greg gonna walk me down because that's unconditional love. Greg at that moment, like, I'm not gonna say I didn't know Greg loved me, but at that moment I knew for sure, like, it was unconditional because you realized that day wasn't about me, wasn't about you. It was about me. So whatever was gonna make me happy, if this man who was there for me 20-something plus years, if I felt like I needed him there, you was gonna let him do it, and you was gonna take the background seat. The guy who was there 20-something years, you were willing to destroy my day, what he thought was gonna destroy my day, all because you wouldn't let the guy who gave me birth so that you could have me be there.
Wow.
So Greg walked me down.
Okay.
And if my husband don't mind me saying, I feel like he said I can say it, that he was like, I don't want your stepfather to walk you down because I don't feel like it's genuine. He was like, he doesn't know me because he like refused to meet. Me and Brandon, we met. Right. Me and my husband, we met. In 6 months, he proposed. The next 6 months, we got married. So my father refused to meet him. You know, initially, Greg met him, got to know him, and he was like, well, Jock don't know me. He was like, so, and I don't feel like it's genuine. So I'm like, all right, cool. That's what you said. We shutting it down. Greg walking me down. End all be all. So that's when I really learned what unconditional love was, and I think that helped me in my marriage to be able to open up and accept unconditional love from my husband. So, yeah.
That's good.
See, I wasn't willing to split the baby. It reminded me of the story.
There you go.
It reminded me of the story in the Bible where he said, okay, well, I'm going to split the baby in half. I wasn't willing to split the baby. That was my baby. I wasn't willing to split the baby. So I said, I had a love and respect for him that he ain't had for me because he loved what I love. And he didn't understand how much I appreciated him. So my thing was, okay, no, I'm just thankful to be here. So if he want to walk her down there, let him walk her down there. And it wasn't until she said, I had always loved unconditionally, but I didn't understand what unconditional love was until she explained to me what she just said about, you know what, I'm going to let you do it because you showed me that you really love me unconditionally. And I was like, wow, that's what unconditional meant all that time. Because I just loved her. Like, so it was natural. It was natural for me.
Yeah.
It was like when she say, this my father, this Greg. That ain't bother me. See, because I'm about accountability. All that happened because of the poor choices that I made. So I'm gonna get mad about something I set in motion? No. And I'm glad I didn't because I may have never got where I'm at had I would have done that. Me being accepting of my wrongs and the hurt that I caused.
Right.
And understanding how her mother felt. She was vicious, but we friends today. She was vicious.
And that makes me happy too, like to see like so everyone think like you can't be friends or cordial with your child's mother, your child's father, but like my father comes over my mother's house like when we have gatherings and he brings his girlfriend and it's just one big happy family. You wouldn't be able to tell who from who apart.
Right.
Or whatnot. And honestly, that's how it was growing up. Like even with my stepdad and his family, everybody came over. So it was just kind of strange. I'm like, well, how come you're not gonna welcome my dad in?
Right.
But you know, everyone deals with pride and egos at different times. Like now where I'm at, I don't hate him for it. I don't feel any type of way. Like I've reached out, I tried, and I'm just like, you know, God, bring him to me when you feel the need. What I am appreciative of is that he filled in the gap when I needed it. So like I didn't grow up looking for love in the wrong places. I mean, I still did what I wanted to do because I'm very stubborn and strong-headed. So regardless if I had a date or not, I was just gonna still do certain things. And my parents have understood that about me. But he filled in the gap. I never had to say like, oh, I didn't have a dad, or you know. So even when it came to dating certain people or dating certain men, I'm just like, oh nah, my dad, nope, that's not going to happen. So, you know, I'm appreciative for that gap that he did fill.
I pray that he come around though, because
he missing out on life.
He was there for so much and so long, and he had an impact. Like, he had a serious impact, because one thing I'm real heavy on is, if you take a certain thing away or remove a certain component, then you don't know what's gonna happen. Like, so now I don't know what happens with her. I don't know how she turned out if you take him away, because she just might have been that young girl that's saying, "Can I call you daddy?"
Okay.
And that was one of my worst worries. I just didn't want to be like that, and I contribute that to his presence. And I knew, and I know she loved him, and I know he loved her. Else he wouldn't have acted how he acted. He just didn't love her enough to share with me.
Well, and
but I loved her enough to share her with him.
Yes, sir.
I loved her enough to share. I wasn't worried about all that. Like, I knew who she was to me, and I knew who I was to her, whether she even realized it or not. But look at God though; He brought her around. And like I say, the way we had got on this conversation the last time was when you asked the question that you asked. I spoke about the village. Right. So when you say he wouldn't accept your dad, like I accepted his mother, his brother, anything, because I'm not. See, she got a fantastic village, a fantastic village, and I'm selfless with her. I'm not selfish because I love who love what I love.
Right.
And I know, like, if I'm the only one love her, if something happened to me, then who she got?
Right.
I needed to be okay. I needed to have genuine people in her life that's gonna love her. And when we get together, I ain't never my family, your family, his family, it's like 4 different families, and you would think that all of them was born and raised together. We'll have no problems. It's all love all the time. And I love it. And so I'm happy that, and just for my grandkids, they gonna get a certain upbringing, and I know they gonna be okay because they tight knit and they foster relationships.
Right.
And I like that, and I'm just glad they let me be a part of it. I'm just glad. So I make good on every chance I get. I'm gonna make good on every chance I get. I can't wait. Like my grandbaby I got now, I'm just crazy about her. She got another one on the way.
That's awesome. Do we have some questions? Anybody type anything on Facebook? Because you know I can't see. But I do have a question. You said yes? No questions yet? Okay. So I know, because I came up with a stepdad as well. But I know that sometimes when you don't have your biological father in place, that it can cause you to be, promiscuous, or you can waver either way. Either you can do drugs or you can drink, or you run to different things. And so my question for you, Tierra, is I know that you had the foundation, but what made you stay on the right path with not having your dad? And I know you had Jock, but knowing that your dad was in the streets, had been to jail, had did drugs, had been shot, like what stopped you? What kept you balanced?
Good question. Like he mentioned, the village. Like my mom was very hard on me, in my opinion. I was her firstborn. I think she so much was making sure I didn't end up like how he was, or not, that she was just on me. I believe I got my academics from him because he's very. And my mom's intelligent too, but she'll say like Greg was smart. He just didn't have no common sense.
I got something now.
Right. He booked smart. That's it. He booked smart, but no common sense. So it's very important, the village. Like I had people who was on my team who was trying to make sure that I did win. And then looking back on it, I did have a presence of God in my life. Like my aunt would take me to church. My other aunt would take me to church, periodically. So the foundation was there as far as faith. Of course, it takes for us to build on it on our own.
That's right.
So once, and I definitely went off the path. My mother,
I was wondering if you was going to tell that part.
Yeah, definitely went off the path.
And see, this is the thing I don't know. I don't know. I wouldn't say I was promiscuous, but I have always been like very free. I'm just like, if I want to do this, Tierra's going to go down this road. Okay. You can sit there and tell me, Tierra, this, and this is going to happen. I'm like, well, let me just see for myself. If I don't like it, I'll come back and go down the next one. Okay. I don't know if that was because he wasn't there or we had very similar personality or characteristics. We just have to do it ourselves.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm thinking so because my daughter is the same. Like, you tell her not to do something, and she does it.
You tell her it's hot, and she's still like, I'm still gonna touch it.
Yeah, she's still gonna touch it. I gotta see. So I'm thinking that was just my personality. Like, I knew right from wrong. So it was never the fact that I didn't have a dad or I didn't know from right from wrong. I was just one of those, like, I'm gonna do what I want to do type of things. But it was definitely the village that kept me on. It was definitely my faith, the faith in God that was laid for me, that kept me on the path.
Tiara. Okay. What was your first step in forgiveness? That's a question I was going to ask.
My first step in forgiving him was just accepting him as my friend.
Okay.
But being I think the first step was being honest with him with how I felt. Like, I really think that day I got it out. I told him everything, like, even things between him and my mom that I probably just shouldn't have known, and it could have been made up, but I questioned him about it, and I allowed him to tell me his truth, what happened, why he did X, Y, Z. Why did you clear out my mother's bank account? You know?
It was Al bank account. And honestly speaking, I'm gonna tell you what really happened. I really made a mistake. I was going to work one day, and my ride, he kept blowing the horn, was rushing. So I had never filled out a withdrawal slip before. So I made a mistake and took out
all the money,
what I meant to leave in. So say for instance, I meant to take $65. I took all but $65. And I kept saying, take it back tomorrow. Never happened.
So, you know, I ain't get
but
that.
Hold up, though.
She didn't think it was a mistake.
But the thing was this, right, what she didn't tell you was she sold a car that she had brought me for like $800. She sold it for a bunch of money. So it really came from my car. So I felt I was justified, which I wasn't because it was Al money. But in my addiction, you know what I mean, this is how you think. You know, just in your addiction. But what I want to know from you is...
Real quick, before you remember that question.
Go ahead.
So the step was for me for the person who asked the question, it was to express how you feel, get it out. Okay. And in your time, because it was for him, it was on me. It was on my time. I'm going to be your friend. I'm going to open up when I'm ready to. Be friends first. If it's a parent, be friends first and just take it day by day, slow by slow. Like, don't expect to be that person, a father-daughter or mother-daughter or whatever relationship off the break. Right. Let that person prove themselves to you. Okay. And that's what it is. Like, he slowly but surely proved himself. He was coming around. He didn't do no more disappearing acts. Okay. For me, like, you know. Right. It was good. It was consistency that I started to see, like, okay, I know I can talk to him every Tuesday, or, you know, I'm talking to him once a week. Now I'm talking to him a couple times a month. Hey, you want to see each other? I'm coming home. You know, so it's gradual steps in forgiveness, and just, if you really think the person is worth it, stick to it. Pray about it. You're not going to get through it without praying. So
that's good.
I'm a person who don't believe in 3 strikes. I'm 2 strikes and you done. So when she gave me that third chance, when she said if you get locked up again, and she still gave me a chance, I was too afraid to mess that one up. Right. Because I felt like I was fortunate to get that one. Right. So any questions she asked me, however it was gonna make me look good, bad, ugly, I told her the truth. You know, because that's what she needed. Right. She needed the truth. She needed answers. She needed truthful answers.
I'm not a sugarcoat type of person, so I'm just like, you know, if you didn't want me, just say you didn't want me. Like, I can accept that more. Or you know, to me, I have a brother that like 11 months younger than me. So to me, I was like, you had a baby, you went to go take care of another baby, you didn't care about me. But you know, so I'm just like, as a child, you just form a whole bunch of things. You don't go ask the other parent because it's like you're a little scared to overnight. And then of course it's 3 sides to a story overnight. And I got one of them, you know, with her pain and her hurt overnight. I got her side. I eventually got his side, and then I was able to make any decisions from the both of them for me, for us. That's good. So what was your question?
So that day when Sean told you that I was going to be there, why didn't you just not come instead of saying I'm going to come?
Because you ain't going to run me away from where I'm coming to. I already was coming, so it was already my place to be there. You were coming to where I was.
But guess what, though? I'm glad you made that decision because it didn't turn out like you thought it was going to turn out. So I'm glad. Listen, really, like, you thought she was making a decision, but God already had that in the place.
Right. And in my mind, I probably was like him, like, you ain't about to keep me from not coming somewhere. Like, I'm
Same way I would act.
Right.
Y'all are just alike. Like,
yeah. And I learned that, and I think that's another thing that draws me so close to him, because I'm just like, I'm one way. I know the different things how I am from my mom, but then those missing pieces, I'm just like, why am I like this? It's like,
yeah,
look at my missing piece.
Yeah. Somebody got a question.
My mom said, I'm Tia. Tia is mine. I still respect Greg to this day. I consider him my great friend to this day. Yes,
you know what? Tia.
Yes.
Tia, it would have been wonderful to have you on this show because, I mean, I'm really liking it that I think somebody calling with a question.
Hello.
Hello.
Is that Tia?
Oh, you know voices.
Okay. This is good. Okay. Somebody have a question? You have a question for Tierra or Greg? Or both? Caller?
Yes, I'm here.
Okay, so do you have a question for Tierra or for Greg or both?
Well, I have a comment, more of a question. Well, a comment and a question.
Okay.
I'm calling in as a, I guess you could say a family friend of Greg. And I just wanted to chime in on the conversation and just let Tierra and Greg both know that I have, witnessed Greg in both his addiction and his, sobriety. And he was like a father figure to us. And he has really done a 360 even in my children's life. So, Tierra, I just want to encourage you and let you know that we are rooting for you guys' relationship and we're wishing you the best. And Greg also let you know that we are really, really proud of you and how far you have come in your sobriety and in your parenthood and everything. And I guess the question that I have for you, Greg, is at what point do you stop operating like out of guilt and you move into just a parenthood relationship? Like, I know that it's a lot of, things that you have to correct and make up for. But at what point do you guys kind of say, let's just start a clean slate and just have a solid relationship, not solely based off guilt or making up for lost time, but just creating a strong bond from scratch? So, if that makes sense.
It do. I started operating out of guilt a long time ago. When I changed my life, I'm forgiven. Yes, I'm forgiven, and so I think that a mistake that a lot of people make is when they forgiven, they don't forget themselves. Mm-hmm. So I forgive me, and I'm able to move on. So as far, like, I think I'm one of those people that I'm always gonna keep my pain up front. And see, because if I don't, I'm afraid I'm doomed to repeat it, and I never want to be where I was at in any way, shape, form, or fashion, especially in her life. Mm-hmm. Because I got grandkids coming, I got grandkids over there, so it's like I want to be present. Mm-hmm. I want to be present. I want to be active. I want to be able to come out my pocket. You know me, I show up. That's what I do today.
Absolutely.
I'm gonna show up, and I just want to say this to y'all, like like they came into my life at a time when I was so messed up. I was homeless, and their mother was like, she worried about what her daughters was gonna say, and I had met them from her son's father, God rest his soul, Lord Razor, and they saw what their mother was going through, and they was like, Ma, it's okay. Razor wouldn't introduce us to Mr. Greg if he wasn't okay. They was like, you can let him stay here, and I had nowhere to go. I was pillar to post, and from that relationship. That was in 2011, wow. And I've been in the grandkids' life and in their life, and I just appreciate them so much because without y'all it wouldn't happen. Because your mother's solely about what y'all think and raising y'all. So I always appreciated y'all, and I appreciate you calling.
And we appreciate you, Greg, and your consistency and willingness, because it's not many people that is willing to accept other people as their own. Just as you speak about us accepting you in the rough time, you accepted us. It was a mutual, relationship and bond. So Tierra, you too, I just want to continue to encourage y'all and pray for your relationship And Sierra, congratulations, because that's my niece.
Yes.
And wish you guys the best. That's
Thank
all.
you.
Thank
you so much. And I know there was a point in time, like before I had kids, and I would see like whoever he was with, if they had kids, and then like they like his other grandkids, I'm just like, yo, how you about to be around them and be doing for them? And like a little piece of me was like, and it's nothing personal to anybody that he helped. I'm glad he did, but a little bit of that ache was still in me. Like, yo, you showing up for them, you going to birthday parties, like, hello, like I'm your flesh and blood, like,
right.
Why is it so much easier for you to be around for them than it was for you to be around for? And I'm gonna say us because I have siblings, the correct way. But again, once I really understood that he was changing his life around, he finally loved himself. It allowed him to love others and to show up. And now that I do have my own child, our relationship has become strong because I'm like, he's showing up for her, like, and not that I didn't expect him to, because I did, but I just look like that's probably how he could have been with me if he wasn't, going through what he was going through. So like, and she looks just like me when I was her age. So oftentimes, like when I visualize my baby pictures and I see them together, a part of me visualizes like how he would have been with me, and I'd be so happy.
I said I wasn't gonna cry.
Yeah.
So listen. So
like I was gonna ask that because when I met Greg, it was just I think he was doing the Park Heights Shuffle, whatever. It was Find My House, something, whatever. But from what I've seen of him, he's always been genuine. Yeah. And I would have never thought that you wasn't in his life because he always talked about you.
And that's everybody
from Facebook too. To, talking about his granddaughter. And so when he was on the show, and I'm like, wait. And then to hear you say 18 years, only God could have done that because I know a lot of people who parents was on drugs, and to this day, like some parents are still getting high, so they didn't have that reconciliation like you have. Right. And I just, believe that God is a God that will redeem time, and so to see the two of you here now, I don't think anybody would have thought that, y'all have this bond or this relationship. And even when I saw the pictures of when you got married, I didn't even know about, the other guy.
Yeah,
and
people be like, I didn't even, well, they'll say they knew he had a daughter because he talked to mommy. But, like, people in our Facebook were like, dang, I didn't know that was your daughter. Or I didn't know that was your father. And I'm just like, yep. Yeah. So like it's just refreshing to see like how far he's come and to see him interact with my daughter, because I'd be like, that probably was the type of father that you would have been had that been your time. Let's just say that had that been your time.
It would have been, because the only thing that stopped me from reaching my mark was drugs. And see, when you using, it's a certain lifestyle that you live and that you become accustomed to. And I couldn't bring that around you. I wouldn't bring it around you, but your mother was definitely not allowing that, and I love her for that. I love it that she see the reason and the answer your question about how was I like that. Well, cause see the standard was so high. The standard was so high with y'all. Your mother set the mark. Doing what I was doing, I couldn't get over that hurdle. I wanted to. My life was unmanaged. It was like nothing I could do. But now you put me in this role at their house. The standard wasn't as high, right? The expectation wasn't as high. But then you got these little kids that they don't know. They cry when I leave. They cry for me. And see, you can't say, well, they not my grandkids, but like you love them back. And that's what I did. Right. They love me and I love them back. Wow. And I remember one of the things that cause I used to get into arguments with guys because they would have had girlfriends that had nice looking daughters, and they would say to me, because Nigel and them, they nice looking, they be like, you don't be looking at them. I'm like, no, man, what you mean? I would never do that. Right. And so, like, though I was living in the same house, sometimes they would come out and I'd be like, so I would be so embarrassed, right? But then one day I was like, can you tell Nigel and them stop doing that? She said, Greg, let me tell you something. She said, they love you, and if they didn't, they wouldn't walk around like that. Yeah. So it made me feel a whole lot better. It made me feel a whole lot better, but they was integral in my life, like they never saw me like everybody else saw me. And that meant a lot to me.
Okay. Yeah. Caller, so do you have a question for Tierra, Greg, or both? Welcome to Mix Station. Hello. Can you hear me?
Oh, hi.
Hi.
Hello, guys.
So, okay. You have a caller or a caller. You have a comment or question for Tierra or Greg?
Yes, I should do it now.
Yes.
Okay, hold on. Hello.
Yes.
Okay, I just wanted to comment and, say to Greg that I was very proud of him. And that young lady that was speaking is my daughter, and she is a twin. And as Greg mentioned earlier, I was very, very particular on who I introduced my girls to because the only guy they've ever seen me with was their dad. Mm-hmm. So it was a time where it was almost where my back was against the wall. We had a death in the family. It was a homicide. And that's where we needed kind of like Greg. He stepped in and he was like, look, forget all that shy stuff and you don't want to see me stuff. I need to be supportive to your family. So that's kind of like how we met. But to make a long story, in my training and my education and what I do, I didn't even know that Greg was an addict or was an active addiction. So I functioned because all the addicts that I knew looked bad, smelled bad, talked bad, and stole.
That's right.
And he didn't do any of that. So once he finally confided and confessed that this was exactly what he was doing, I said, Greg, let's talk about treatment. And let's talk about getting this thing together. And I know people, they go in treatment, they go in detox, and they come out, and they relapse. But so my question to Greg is, and to this day, Greg is kind of like one of my best friends. He's like my brother. He was a horrible boyfriend, but he's the best friend that any woman could ever have. And he demonstrated, he doesn't have mouth service. He shows up. If there's a graduation, he shows up. Christmas, he's there. The high school basketball game, my grandson's basketball games, he's there. Football games, he's there. But to make a long story short, my question to Greg is, what was it this time, Greg, when you went into treatment? And I know we made a lot of phone calls and things like that. But what made it stick that last time that didn't all the other times?
So the thing that did this time was a group. And that's an easy question because I had an aha moment. So we had a group, and the group was about the counselor asked. It was actually two situations. So the counselor asked me. He said, if you had to go back to when your problems first started, how far would you go back? I said, that's easy. 15 when I first started sniffing dope. He said that's bull crap. He said, you mean tell me that you just started getting in trouble when you turned 15? So I said, no. He said, then go all the way back to when you first started getting in trouble. So because of that, I was able to unlock a door and deal with some stuff that I didn't even know really existed. Yeah, that I didn't even really know existed. Mm-hmm. And then two, it was another group, and it was called Passion, Purpose, and Vision, right? Mm-hmm. So as the guy, and Kevin Smith, shout out to you because he mean a lot to me. Mm-hmm. It unlocked something else in me. All of a sudden, I knew what my purpose, my passion, and my vision was. Mm-hmm. And my purpose, my passion, my vision was to go out there and help the people that was where I was at find their way back, give them some hope, and also stop the ones that's on their way there from going. So once I realized that I had a passion, purpose, and vision, like my life just opened up. Like I got to the point where all them years when people asking me stuff, what I'm gonna do, I'm saying the same stuff over and over. So one day my brother was like, "What you gonna do?" I ain't want to talk. And the reason why I ain't want to talk because I ain't had nothing new to say. Mm-hmm. So and when I started talking, I started sounding different to myself. So I'm like, "Wait, man," and that's what did it for me. And life just opened up when I surrendered this time. That's really what happened. Mm-hmm. I surrendered and I gave my life to God, and I just started trying to walk. I just started trying to walk a certain way, like and that's how my life got turned around. But I do want to say this because of you getting on me about going to treatment and all that. That's what opened up the door. That was the beginning of my journey. So, and all I said, that's how I got where I'm at today because you started my journey out for me. Because I wouldn't have never went on my own. That was my first treatment facility. Everything else was detox. I got out in 3 days, had enough rest, gained about 10 pounds. I'm off and running again. But with this time, like you introduced me to treatment, and that's where it started at for me.
And Greg, I guess that was our purpose and meaning. Everything there's a time and there's a season. Mm-hmm. And I guess that was our purpose in meetings, because that's what I do. I serve, and I just thank God for letting us cross one another's path.
Definitely.
Keep up the good work, you guys.
All right.
That's
Thanks.
awesome.
Okay, bye-bye.
Okay, thank you. Do you have any questions? Did Brandon get questions on yours? Did you?
Type of question.
You can join the show.
Oh yeah, come on,
babe.
Brandon. Come on,
You
Brandon.
got a lot to say.
So listen, let me say this though, right? So was my daughter. Like I told you, she came to me about the celibacy thing, right? So I wasn't ready for that, but she was serious about it. She stuck to it. So then when she meet her husband, she was like, "Oh, I met him."
Wait, when I asked you, I messed up.
Yeah, okay, well, you ain't tell me that part.
I love your
Tell me that part.
transparency,
Tell me that
Tiara.
Wait. Because I was what? That was, you brought me to Comfort in my junior year, so I was 19 turning 20, because when we had met again. So I messed up, however.
Let's be clear, I
Then
messed
again,
up.
it was, and I'm gonna be honest. So God was always pulling on me to save myself for Him, or at least stop what you was doing and make it right.
Yeah, amen.
But this is what I learned from my husband once we got married, because when you're married, you can do some things.
Yes.
Amen.
But what I learned, what he taught me,
Oh,
yes.
Shabaya.
So what I learned from my husband was that when we were able to be intimate, I was just trying to be intimate all the time. And he was like, yo, like, chill. And what I learned that I picked up from him was a form of addiction.
You gotta come back, Tiara. You gotta come back. Oh my gosh.
So what I picked up was a sex addiction. And it wasn't a sex addiction where I need to have sex with everybody. It was just that when I did it, I couldn't get enough. So I remember Greg telling me one time, like, it's like a fiend.
Transfer.
When they get that first hit, they chasing that high every time. So as a young lady, when I learned how to reach that point, it was just like snap. That it was like, I need to keep trying to get that. And my husband like, yo, chill.
Wow.
Like, I was celibate for a while, but when it woke up, but it wasn't a healthy wake up.
Okay.
I woke up with I was trying to chase that feeling over and over and over again. It didn't matter overnight. So he came to me and he said, you have an addiction? I'm like, no, I'm just real sexually high, whatever. And he was like, no. He was like, think about it, Terry. You have addiction in your family. He was like, it may not be the same type of addiction, but you picked up an addiction.
And it don't have to be.
Right.
That's right. It just
That's good.
Right.
That's
So
good.
right. So when I realized, I'm just like, dang, you right. I prayed about it. I sought help for it overnight, and it really improved. Like, my marriage wasn't bad, but it just improved the intimacy, because now it wasn't all about me and all about me trying to catch something overnight. It was more about what God intended it for. The 3 P's: pleasure, procreation, and protection. So.
All right now, Tiara. Okay.
Yes.
Yes.
Honesty will set you free.
Yes, that is good.
So I'm appreciative to my husband that God gave him the eye to see that and to help that be cured in me, so that I wouldn't pass that generational habit or curse down to my daughter.
Amen.
That's right.
Overnight.
That's
Because
right.
for me, it starts early. It wasn't, I didn't just pick it up overnight.
Right.
You get into porn, or you get into this, and you start picking up all those little things that the enemy attaches to you
Right.
overnight. And it's just like, now I have an addiction because I have all these seeds in me that
Yes.
they have to sprout at some point,
Yeah.
and it did. So I'm
Wow.
thankful for my husband and God for revealing that to him to help me. So
That is good.
So what I was
That's
going to
good.
say was, one of the things that helped me surrender was watching how you change your life and watching the fruits that manifested itself from you doing it. And I wanted my life to be like that. I was like,
That's
man, she
awesome.
stopped doing this and this happened. She stopped doing this
I
and
met,
this
I
happened.
met, I met, I
She
met
stopped
my
doing this
husband
and this
doing
happened. I wanted that for myself.
Yes, sir.
I wanted that for
Yes, sir.
myself.
Yes, sir.
So
I brought
see,
something to your life.
yeah, because normally the child looks up to the parent,
Right.
and wants to, they admonish things that the parent does. But then
She
he
was
saw
more
you,
mature than
yeah, and so he was in a place to where
And
he
I told him I was like,
admired
Dad,
you.
I was like, Dad, I met this guy, and I told him I was celibate, and he was like, cool, I'm gonna try it. And I was like, I'm gonna marry him. Because
Wow.
everybody else be like, oh, they stop
I
calling
don't
me
know
like
about
2 years
that.
ago.
Yeah.
I said he said what?
I said he said he gonna do it, but he gonna be celibate.
We got another caller. Okay. Oh, Tia.
Hey,
It's
Mom.
about time.
Shut up. Oh, I gotta be nice. I'm on the radio.
Yeah, please.
Hi, Tia. Welcome to Mix Station.
Hello. Thank you so much.
Go ahead.
So I called in one. We very transparent these days. It took a long time, and I had wrote in one of the comments that at one time I hated Greg with a passion, because as he says, I have this picture perfect family that I be looking for. And I just thought that when I had a daughter or had a child, it happened to be a daughter, that, everything was going to be perfect. Now, I knew Greg was doing drugs when I first met him.
Mm-hmm.
However, I thought that with me giving him an ultimatum that when my daughter is born, you either stop or you leave. He didn't stop. At that point, he kept going back and forward to jail. Which then in return made me build hatred due to the fact that my daughter didn't have a father. I was then a single mother at 19, turning 20. I'm a little out of breath.
Take your time.
But over the years, excuse me, Greg, no, I wouldn't allow him to call my mother's house. You don't call me. I had to protect my daughter because that's what parents are supposed to do, is protect their children. So with that addiction, and you never knew what was going to come out of, because I wasn't the street girl. The other people, the other women he dealt with was street chicks. I was a county girl. I didn't know nothing but how to be bougie.
Okay.
So at that point, I had to then go into protection mode, because you can be 19, 20 having a kid, and that don't automatically make you grow up as an adult. However, the moment I had a child, because I was my mother's only child, but the moment I had a child, I had to become an adult. With him leaving, because I was married to Greg. I don't like telling too many people that, but, I was married to him.
And the plot thickens.
Yes.
Yes.
Whether you like it or not, we was married.
And I tell people all,
That was
and Greg talks so freely about us being married. Now, we was married. They ain't last worth nothing, because we got married. Then we found out we was pregnant with Tiara. Then once I had Tiara, 2 weeks later, I put him out.
14 days. She'll tell me.
So I was
left
a
when you was
single
14
mother.
days.
Yes, I was a
19 days.
single
You put
mother
me out
at
January
14 days.
31st, 1990.
Wow.
I had 19 days in the house with her.
So, Mom, what made you forgive?
Yeah.
What made me forgive is, and that's exactly why I called in to tell that portion of the story, is that when she first wanted to meet Greg, I was okay with it. However, she wasn't going to go alone. Mommy, her protector, and Tiara said I was very hard on her, in which I was, but Mommy, her protector, was going to go with her, because I felt as though I had to shield my daughter, no matter how hard I was on her, because we bumped heads, believe it. We got, have mercy, we bumped heads. However, I had to still protect her, even at the age of 18 and 19 years old.
Okay.
So once I then saw Greg, still having an attitude with him, still half speaking to him, but will speak, would be cordial. Then I noticed after the years that started going by is that, okay, I always knew he loved my daughter. There was never a doubt. unconditional love. He snuck letters to my mother's house. He would know when I wasn't at my mother's house, so he can call just to check on her, to talk to my mother to see how she was.
My grandmother's the real
everything.
MVP.
So I knew that love was unconditional. However,
Shout out
I just
Vicky.
couldn't accept the addiction.
Right. Okay.
So, but then I noticed how he started interacting with her. Okay, if Tiara is going to give him a chance, I'm going to see how far it goes. But I have to stay close, because if he disappoint her again, I'm going to have to catch my baby, because she didn't need no more disappointment in her life when it came to the men of her life. And that's my ex-husband. And that is, well, I guess they both was my ex-husbands. But
I was going to ask
Pretty
if she
much.
stayed with him.
Pretty
Okay.
much.
But let me tell you, to this day, and, you know, about 3 years ago, I guess about 3-4 years ago, I'm not good with time, I invited Greg and his friend to my house. Greg was never allowed to even know where I live at, let
She
alone
like, you won't bring that
him
stuff to
into
my
where
house.
I fellowship with my family.
Wow.
And from that point on, he told me, Tia, if I don't do anything else, I will never disappoint my pudding pie again. I said, don't tell it to me, prove it to me. And to this day, God has proven it to me. He's always welcomed in my house. Everywhere, every event that we have, I invite him and Jazz, because they are a part of our family. He has not so much proven to Tia, and now, like I always told him, it's not about proving anything to Tiara. It's not proving anything to me. Greg, you have to prove this to yourself. When you're ready and you can prove it to yourself, everyone else around you is going to benefit. And I am so thankful to God to say that I have benefited from him proving to himself that he is better than what he was.
Yeah. Thank you, Ma.
And I just told him a few weeks ago, I said, Greg, you know I love you.
Oh.
And that's like I
And
was
he was like,
mentioning.
I ain't never, he said, here, and I told him how proud I am. He said, I thought I would never hear those words out of your mouth. And for you to say that to me means everything.
Yeah, so I just appreciate.
He's my friend.
Ma. I just appreciate you being, you know, the type of mother that you are to shield me from certain things. But I'm also happy that you also have a forgiving heart and allowing him, you know, for you two to build a relationship. Oh, so when I turned 28 was the first time I celebrated my birthday with both my parents together. So we went to my recollection. What?
Eggs.
Expectation,
right?
Yeah, at Owens Mills, both my parents were there for me on my 28th birthday. So I was like, dang, in 28 years, the first time that we have celebrated a birthday.
And he paid the bill.
Yep.
And he paid the
All right, love you, Mom. Thank you.
And Greg, let me say this part. I'm surprised you didn't bring up the child support issue, because I told you I will keep you
But
out
let me
of
do it.
jail
Let me
as
do it.
long
Let me
as
do
you-
it. Let me do it. Let me do it.
Go ahead.
I owe you that much. Owe you more than that, but I'm just gonna give you that little piece. Cause don't let me shortchange you. So we went to child support. We went to child support, and I'm like, I'm going to jail today. We went out Lucasville, right? Look, I owe $48,000. I had $70 in my pocket. I said, I'm going to jail today. I get out there, and she said, I'm going to show you that it ain't about money. So we go over to the thing. They call our name. We go over there. She said, I'm going to squash all of it. We go over to the window. The lady said, how can I help you? So she told the lady, I want to take them off child support. I want to squash all the money. So the lady was like, sure, fine. She got it typing. When she sent the number, she say, are you sure you want? I said, miss, ain't that what she said? She said, well, I got some good news for you and some bad news for you. I said, what is it? She say, she only can squash 38,000. You owe 7,000 something. You got some money on that today? I said, nope. 'Cause I was taking that. I was going back out there and get high. I was going to celebrate the fact that I wasn't going to jail. But the fact is that she showed me, like, even though she still was being real hard on me, that showed me that it wasn't about money. And it really was about my daughter. I always said it's about her, right? I always say somebody could walk up to me. She used to cry when she didn't have a job. Call her for a job, come back, she would cry. And I'd be like, it's okay, you'll get a job tomorrow. But she was a worker. So I always told her, I said, man, I said, you so driven. Somebody could walk up to me tomorrow and say, you know your wife got the new 2040 spaceship. And I would say I believe that because that's how driven she was. Because it ain't nothing like you can make up something and tell me, and I'm like, knowing her, she probably got it or got half told or something because that's just who she was. So I always appreciated that. Like I say, I was always about accountability. I know what I did wrong. I know what I didn't do, so I can't blame that on nobody else. I can't get better like that.
Right.
And as bad as I was, I always wanted to get better. I always want, because I wanted to be in her life. I'm like I'm telling everybody know I love her, but I can't really show it. I'm his favorite.
Well, I'm going to end it on this and tell you how proud I am of you. And we talk about a lot of things. And I think that's really cool. And I just want to let you know that I am very proud of you. I want you to keep up the great work, and because I want you to remain having that relationship with your granddaughter and with your daughter and her whole entire family. And everyone have a good evening.
Okay,
Thank you.
Thank
you.
Man, when I tell you, coming from her out of everybody, nobody was harder. Nobody was hard on her. She was vicious. Like I said, her mother said I could call her when I wanted to. I called her. She said, "Don't call my mother's house," and hung up the phone. I called back. My mother was like, "Don't listen to her. This is my house." She hung up on me again. Like she was just like she was hurt. And in the same way I was hurting people, she was hurting me back. You know what I mean? And she didn't like it but she meant to do it. I didn't mean it. It was just, that was how my life was, it was unmanageable like that. But looking back, like all that, like I don't know how it would have been. Like I love where I'm at with my daughter right now, so I can't have no regrets, because what I did is I didn't allow that to keep being my downfall. I started using it as a stepping stone. So because I was able to use it as a stepping stone, I have no regrets about it. You know what I mean? And I always been the type of guy to be like, they be like, "Don't do this." I'm like, man, I'll cross that bridge when I come to it. But every time I got to that bridge, it was broken. So now I'm more of a forethought person. I'm like, if I do this, then this gonna happen, then that gonna happen. I don't want that to happen, so I ain't gonna do that. I'm gonna go another route. I use forethought, and I don't have to learn. I was like my granddaughter. Like I could see you burn your hand, but that don't mean I was gonna burn mine. So, but now I look at stuff happening to other people, and I hear stories, and I be like, nope. If it turned out that for them, even if it might not, it's a possibility that it will, and it just ain't worth it to me.
All right.
Oh, also, my husband has some questions he typed in. You have some questions? So he's going to come on the show. No.
Oh, come on. Yeah. It's him. Okay.
Come on, Brandon.
You keep
Hey, Cousin Shell.
This is my number one man right here.
It's the best son-in-law in the world.
Okay.
You're only.
So, Brandon is here. We gonna close out in just a few, but I do want. This is Tiara's husband, Brandon. Do you want to?
How you doing today? Question for you, Greg. So how do you go about helping other fathers that haven't been in contact with their children or trying to repair that relationship based upon some of their past experiences? Like, how do you give some advice to them to start that journey?
If somebody wants that, or I see something fractured or broken, I interject or intercede on it. But what I really want to do is start a program for fathers. I want on how to parent, because we as children, I was misled. I was taught by my father. He didn't mean no harm. He just taught me what somebody taught him. He thought it was a rite of passage, and I did the same thing to some people. So that's why I do the stuff that I do, because I'm directly and indirectly responsible for a lot of stuff that's going on. That's why I'm a frontline worker, and I'm out there trying to do the best I can to undo the wrongs that I did by helping somebody else and trying to get them to pay it forward. So I really want to start a program for fathers to teach them how to parent, because I got this saying, I say, parents don't know how to parent. That's a parent. It's a parent that they don't know how to parent.
That's true.
And this is why, like, who teaches their child to pick up a stick and bust somebody in the head? That's something somebody else taught you. See, never mind the repercussions of that, because now you just got your child in handcuffs. You just got your child a record, and that's going to go towards his future.
Right.
So, but that's what somebody else told us we should do, and we told them what somebody else told us, not thinking of the consequences or the repercussions. So somebody needs to teach fathers how to be fathers, mothers how to be mothers, because there's a lot of stuff going on. That's why the kids growing up is I'm showing them certain things, but I don't want them to do these things I'm showing them. What else they gonna do?
Right.
What else they gonna do but what they see? Seeing is believing, not hearing. You know, so that's what I want to do, and I'm trying to get somebody to write me a grant. I'm gonna get it done. I just pray about it because I got here by just praying. Just praying and remaining in line to receive the blessings that God got for me. He direct my steps. I pray for something. If it's for me, I get it. If it's not, something else will come to fruition.
So let's put it out there because I have quite a few people, I believe, on my Facebook page that are grant writers. So you all heard the request, and we're going to make the request known. The word says, where 2 or 3 come together in his name, there he is in the midst. So Greg needs a grant writer. I know we're in the pandemic. A lot of y'all grant writers are sitting at home right now doing nothing. So if the word says, write the vision and make it plain so that the people can run with it. So Greg already has the vision out. Now we're going to put it out there for anybody who is a grant writer. Can you connect with myself on Facebook? If you have my number, you can call me or text me. You can inbox me. This new Facebook upgrade is irritating me, but inbox me on Facebook, or you can inbox Greg to give him the information and the steps that he needs so that we can get his program started, okay? Because we want to support.
Mixstation will be behind you.
Appreciate it.
And so you got Mixstation, and I already told you,
I'll join you on that as well, man.
Okay, look at that. All
Look at
right.
God.
Go ahead. Look at God. All right, now. I think you got some partnership
Let me
in
say this
here
real quick,
already.
right? They invited me one day to the couch thing, right?
Unplugged.
And see,
Campus Free.
all my life,
Okay.
all my
that's
life,
the-
I thought I knew
yeah,
real men.
Cafeteria, yes.
The men in the street was real men to me. But I went there this day, and the concept was things I never got to say to my father, and I seen all these people. Because we taught not to cry, but these men, they was free, so they could cry. They wasn't held to that standard. So I'm sitting there looking at them, and I had somewhere to go. I was late and everything, but I had to stay to let them know that I realized for the first time I really met some real men. I met some real men. Because, see, I wasn't free like them. I had made it to that point where I could do that and not worry about what nobody thought about me. I'm there now, but at that time I was still locked up inside. I hadn't really scratched the surface yet.
Is that a grant writer?
Yeah.
We gonna call those things
So
that be
God
not
be
as
the
though they
glory.
are.
That was a grant writer already.
Calvin Lewis says, I'm in Greg.
That's my man. Good friend. of
Look
mine.
at that. Okay. Well, then we need to have a meeting now.
Right. Yeah, so that's so amazing. Right, but we're going to keep.
Okay. I'm thinking it was a call. He's like,
I
you want to call
thought it
him?
was a caller. Go ahead,
uh,
Brandon.
Tierra and Greg, one of the questions that I have is, you all talk about the village a lot, and you repaired your relationship, but how did the village come about? Because sometimes other people in your family aren't always as forgiving. And sometimes
good.
other people in the family don't know the whole entire story, especially in the black community. So how did the village and what was those conversations like when you all started to repair your relationship? What did that look like amongst everyone else that was very, very close to you?
I don't know how it was for her, but for me, her aunts and her friends, my grandma, they knew I loved her. Like, her mother was the only one that was so hard. Everybody else was accepting of me. And I understand. I love them. I understand them. I know. I'm glad she did it because she did it to her father. She gonna do it to any man, and I needed that. Wasn't nobody gonna be able to hurt her. If I could, and she won't let me do it. She won't let nobody do it, and I appreciate that. But they was accepting. I mean, that's why I say I love the village, man. I've never seen any people gel from different families like we all gel. It's like it's comfortability all the way across the board. It's love, it's support, it's better than I could ever hope for.
So the good thing about my family is we're a family of blended families.
Okay.
So like everyone have respect for my stepfather. It was fine. But at the end of the day, because they come from blended families, they understand that biological relationship. So everyone loved him, regardless of like what he went through, you know, where he was at in life. When I tell you, everyone would tell me like, "Man, Greg, love you," and I'm just like, "That's what they say," you know. But everybody knew it or whatnot. So the fact when they saw him coming around, they was like, "Oh, snap!" Like, you know, dapping him up, hugging him, and everything. So it's always been mad love. However, I understand it's not like that in every family.
No.
And the thing is, if you're willing to open that relationship and that door back up, that's all that has to matter. Of course, you need some people on your side or whatnot, but I don't want people going into it thinking that they're going to have their whole family support, because you don't understand how hurt transforms other people's hearts.
Right.
And just because, you know, with a child, just because you forgive your boyfriend don't mean your parents going to forgive your boyfriend. So, and it goes the same way for other people. So, you just have to pray about it, and if it's what you want to do, you have to stick to it. And just, you know, pray that other people come around.
And actions are undeniable. So some people can act how they want to. Actions are undeniable. If you heard everybody that said anything good about me, it was my actions. It was my consistency. Look, they say a constant drip will break concrete. So that's what you do. If you're doing it from the heart, it's nothing. It's what you naturally do. And you'll win people. God touch hearts. God change hearts.
Right. That's good.
I got a question. What ministry are y'all from? Where this couch is at?
Yeah.
Oh, so we go to Set the Captives Free Outreach Center in Woodlawn.
Pastor a shout out.
Yeah.
Pastor
So,
Karen Bethia.
shout out Pastor Karen.
Anyway.
That's who
Shout out
married
Pastor
him. That's who
Dilwood.
married him.
So that is that's who married us, and so we belong to it's called Rooted essentially, and so we reformed ourselves and did like a rebranding. So what Greg was referring to was something that we call Unplugged. So we just have various people just sit on the couch and just have conversations in front of an audience, and then of course it's on live. But now we go by Rooted, and it's a little bit different because of the quarantine. So we're doing quarantine conversations, and so it's on via Zoom. Again, we obviously live stream it, but it's just very good conversation, similar to what it is now. But it allows us to be Christians and be vulnerable, but also give our truth. And one of the things that I believe that Christians have a hard time doing is sometimes is having the Bible and then having what's going on in the world and merging them two together. Because some people need something practical. Yes, the word is what you stand by and what is written and what is believed, but you also have to help people understand what the word is saying. So that's one of the things that we want to do is just stay rooted in our foundation and in our Father, and then just be a branch to others.
Yeah, and our last two virtual conversations were with Uncle Reese, one of the gospel rappers, and then our next one is June 27th with Tori Smith as our guest.
Football player.
Yeah, football player. So again, just talking and that's the thing that starts relationships, is conversations. So that's another thing to people who are trying to get relationships back and different things in life. Start with the conversation. Regardless if your conversation is screaming, crying, and cussing, get it. And get it out.
Gotta release it.
You have to release it, because the more and more you build on it, the more and more it changes your heart. And once hatred builds up in your heart, it's definitely not any good.
Yeah. That's good. Yeah. Okay. Well, I want to thank you, Brandon. You know, that seat was belonging to you anyway.
God bless you.
But on the real, this is man to man for Greg, man. Thank you for your heart, dude. I never forget when my wife came home, and she wasn't my wife then.
And I didn't come home because we weren't
living
together.
So
I
like,
didn't come home.
So she came to my home.
Pastor, I did not go.
Pastor, I didn't do it.
She came to my home, and she just bust out crying. Didn't want me to see her, but she was in my bathroom, and she was just on the floor crying. I didn't say a word to her. I just sat down and just hugged her. As she just cried, and she was crying because the person that raised her, she felt at that moment in time didn't love her. And the one thing that I can say about you, Greg, is from day one that I met you, your love is undeniable for my wife. And as a man, I appreciate that. So I did tell her that I don't want her stepfather to give her away because it wasn't genuine. And one of the things about you is that you're a genuine person, and it shows in your heart. So to anyone that is looking to repair a relationship, the one thing I say, it starts in your heart. And if you believe it in your heart, love will pour out. And then when that love pours out, it's undeniable. Like you have to grab a hold of it. And my wife just grabbed a hold of your love. But I thank you as a man because we get to see who you are. We get to be a part of your journey, and you get to be a part of ours. And so when people say you don't need to know your biological father, you do, because different illnesses, like how your children will look, that's all, like, there's no denying your biology, right? And so I think you personally do because you always kept it real, but you always just showed love. Okay? And I appreciate that about you.
Told y'all I love him. Y'all see why I love him?
Okay.
Good choice. Good choice.
Good choice. Yay. I think that looks, yes. That's real class. Yeah.
Glad you get class from them. Yeah.
I waited for that one.
Yeah.
That was the kid. I waited for that.
Wait on the Lord.
Wait on the Lord and be
Yes.
of good courage. And he shall strengthen
That's why we
thine
hit-
heart.
Yeah, that wedding was in a year. I said, okay.
Wait us on the Lord. Isn't that what Pastor Burston preached Sunday? Talked about waiting.
Yeah, it's
That's
so important. When you wait on the Lord, more than what you ask for is revealed.
Yes.
Yep.
He's
So
well able to do exceedingly
Yes.
above all even
Yep.
ask or
What
think.
thing?
I tell Brandon, I tell people all the time, Brandon is the best thing that has happened to me after Jesus.
Oh,
Yeah.
how about that? Put Jesus
Yes. Jesus, my Savior, is the first, and then Brandon is the next best thing. So
Yeah, that's
gotta have y'all
amazing.
back.
Yeah, we got to get y'all back because y'all remind me.
Man, she steal the show everywhere she go, man.
Always.
Hey, if y'all have a party and you the host, you won't be the host when she finishes. She gonna steal it.
Always.
That's what she did.
I went to school for communication, so
Yeah, and it shows.
We really need to talk
You
about
earned your degree.
Yeah.
TV
That's
production
awesome.
and radio production.
Wow. Okay, so we get ready to close out. I want to thank you all so much for coming. Y'all tremendously. Y'all have blessed me, and I know y'all have blessed the viewers. I was on live on Instagram, and I got to go back and read because I had some inboxes on there because I know people probably had some questions, but it chimed out, but it's okay. But thank you for your heart. Thank you for your transparency, Tierra. I definitely have to get you back because you touched on something with addiction that I was talking about today, and people don't think that sex addiction is real, and it is, and we really need to talk about it. And even in this pandemic, I believe that the addiction
Probably didn't get worse.
In this pandemic, I believe that it is heightened itself, and so I believe that you could be a blessing to not just young ladies, but to women who are struggling with celibacy, who are struggling with, that sex addiction, and people don't want to talk about it. And I am very transparent with things that I grew up with, things that I've done. It's not all pretty, but you overcome by the blood of the Lamb and by the word of our very testimony. So, so we're going to get ready to close. And Tierra, if you don't mind, I want to just let you go out with the last words, because I believe that so many lives have been changed, and I believe that somebody is going to sit at home and say, I forgive my mother. I forgive my father. I forgive my grandfather. I thank God that you didn't get to see him in the ugly phase, even though you felt that rejection, even though you felt the hurt. But look at what God has done now, because some people have seen their parents, on the streets, bent over, that Lexington Market lean and all of that, but God shielded you from that. And so I just want you to go out with the last remarks, and if you don't mind, just close us out in prayer.
Okay. God is telling me to say, to call on him. It's nothing in this world that we can get done without him. He wants you to ask for his help. We are forgiven because he forgave us first.
That's right.
We cannot He will not forgive. He will not forgive unless we continuously forgive, and we have to turn our cheeks several times. In the Bible, don't quote me exactly, but it says something about how many times should you turn the other cheek. 77. Yep.
77
times 7, and you have to. So even though I honestly believe if my father would have went back to jail again, I would have still given him that other chance, because countless times God gives me a chance after chance after chance. So I'm telling anyone who's out there who's struggling, that you think you can't get through it again, if you really want it and you are desiring it, but it just keeps disappointing you, forgive again.
That's right.
And each time it'll get less and less. But you have to lean on the Lord, not on your own understanding. You can't lean on that person's actions or their words. Lean on God first, and He will set the path straight.
Yes.
So I will close in prayer. Dear Heavenly Father, Lord, we just thank you for this platform, Jesus. Lord. Lord, we thank you for you being in the midst, Lord God, and making this possible. We thank you for the experiences that we have overcome, Lord. We thank you for the experience that we will get to, Lord. And we just thank you for being there for us. We thank you for forgiving us for our sins. Lord, we ask that if there's anyone on this call who does not know you at that time, Lord, we ask that they take this time to surrender to you, Lord. We know that you say that if they just accept Jesus as their Savior, Lord, they will be saved. So, Lord, we ask that anyone who believes in you, who wants that salvation, Lord, that in their own private time right now, Lord, that they surrender to you and they ask to be your child, Lord. And in that moment, they are saved. Lord, so we thank you very much, and we pray for you. We pray that others are here to hear from you. In Jesus' name, amen.
Amen. Amen. Thank y'all for chiming in, and y'all have a wonderful night. That's good.